I have had this for a bit now, and a few people ask me about it, so here is my take. I use a generator for two situations. One is backup power at home when the power flickers or goes out. The other is occasional outdoor trips where I still want basic comfort, like keeping a cooler cold and charging everything without worrying about battery packs. If you are looking for something to run a couple of small things for a short time, you probably do not need something this size. I reach for this one when I want headroom. Not because I am trying to run my whole house like nothing happened, but because I want the generator to feel relaxed instead of strained. For me, that translates into steadier power and less stress when I plug in more than one thing. What makes this unit interesting to me is that it tries to balance being powerful with being manageable to live with. I have owned older generators that felt like a chore every time I took them out. This one is still a real generator. It is not tiny, and you will not confuse it with a small inverter box. But compared to the heavy open frame units I grew up around, it is much easier to deal with day to day. The first thing I noticed when I started handling it regularly was the overall layout. The controls are where I expect them to be, and the front panel does not feel like an afterthought. The housing feels solid enough for normal use. I do not baby it, but I also do not leave it sitting in the rain. It has the kind of build where I am comfortable moving it around, loading it into a vehicle, and setting it down on gravel, as long as I am not being reckless. Port selection is a big part of why I keep using this one. In real life, I am usually powering a mix of stuff. Something like a refrigerator at home, some lights, maybe a fan, and then all the little chargers that pile up. On trips, it is more like a small electric cooler, camera batteries, phones, and sometimes a cooking appliance. Being able to plug in different things without adapters and without constantly swapping cords makes it less annoying to use. Setup is pretty straightforward, but I will tell you what it is actually like. When the power is out and you are doing this in a hurry, you want simple steps and no surprises. I put it on a flat spot, check fuel, check oil, and make sure nothing is plugged in before I start it. I like doing it that way because it prevents weird starts and avoids that moment where a load is already pulling power while the generator is trying to catch itself. The electric start is the feature I have ended up appreciating the most. I have used enough pull start machines to know that they work, until they do not, or until you are tired, or it is cold, or you are in a hurry. With electric start, I can get it running without fighting it. I still consider pull start important as a backup method, but electric start is what I use almost every time. Once it is running, the eco mode is something I use depending on the situation. If I am only charging devices and running light loads, eco mode helps it settle down. The generator does not feel like it is constantly revving harder than it needs to. That matters to me for two reasons. One is fuel use. The other is noise. I am not going to tell you it is silent because it is not. You know it is there. But it is not the same harsh experience as some older generators that sound like they are yelling the whole time. Let me talk about the kind of testing I have actually done with it. During an outage, I ran my refrigerator and some basic household stuff. I kept it practical. I was not trying to prove a point. I just wanted my food to stay cold and my house to feel normal enough. It handled that kind of load without drama. The power felt steady and I did not get random shutoffs. I checked on it a few times, topped off fuel when needed, and it behaved predictably. On a camping-style trip, I used it more like a power hub. I was charging tool batteries, running a small cooler, and keeping phones and a laptop topped up. That is where the convenience of the outlets really shows up. I am not hunting for a place to plug in. I am not stacking power strips in a sketchy way. I just plug things in and keep it organized. Now for noise and placement, because that is the reality with any generator. I always put it outside, away from doors and windows, and I pay attention to wind direction. I also try to place it so the sound is not bouncing straight off a wall back toward me. With this unit, if I give it some space and do not corner it, it is more tolerable. If I put it too close to a hard surface, it gets more annoying fast. That is not unique to this generator, but it is something you feel immediately in real use. Fueling is mostly painless. The fill area is accessible, and I have not had a lot of spill issues as long as I am not rushing. My advice is to use a decent funnel and slow down. Also, I never refuel when it is hot and running. I let it cool, even if that means I wait a bit. It is just not worth the risk. A few small criticisms from living with it. It is portable compared to bigger units, but you still feel it. If you are moving it alone across uneven ground, you are going to notice the weight. It is not something I would want to carry any real distance. Another thing is that generators always involve maintenance. Oil changes are not hard, but you have to actually do them. If you ignore that part, it will come back to bite you later. I also want to mention that any high-output generator can tempt you into running more than you should through extension cords. I have done it before with other setups and regretted it. With this one, I try to be disciplined. I use proper cords, I keep runs short when I can, and I do not overload cheap power strips. The generator can supply power, but your accessories still have to be up to the task. On reliability, mine has been consistent. Starts have been predictable. It has not turned into a project where I am constantly troubleshooting. That is really what I care about. When I need it to work, and I need it to be easy enough that I do not put off using it. If you are deciding whether this generator fits you, I would frame it like this. It makes sense if you want a single unit that can cover home backup basics and also handle outdoor use without feeling fragile or annoying every time you start it. It is probably too much if you only want to charge phones once in a while. It is also not the right tool if you need something you can lift and carry easily with one hand. Overall, I have found it straightforward to live with. It is not perfect, but it is dependable in the situations I bought it for. I keep it maintained, I store it properly, and when the lights go out, it does what I need without turning into a headache. I will update specific information about the GENMAX 9000 watt Environmental Protection Agency compliant lightweight generator in the comments. Don't forget to catch my next video.